At 10:47 a.m. on June 19, 1944, Lieutenant Alexander Vraciu pulls his Grumman F-6F-3 Hellcat into a steep climb above the Philippine Sea, smoke trailing from his engine cowling. 25 years old, 76 combat missions, 19 confirmed kills. 300 miles to the west, 476 Japanese aircraft launch from their carriers in the largest carrier airstrike since Pearl Harbor. Mitsubishi A-6M0 fighters, Nakajima B-6N torpedo bombers, Yokosuka D-4Y dive bombers. They carry enough ordnance to cripple the entire United States Pacific Fleet. The Philippine Sea stretches between the Mariana Islands and the Philippines, 1,500 miles of open water where the fate of the Pacific War will be decided in the next 6 hours. Control of the Marianas means American bombers can reach Tokyo. Lose this battle, and the Japanese homeland remains untouchable for another year. Maybe longer. Vraciu grew up in East Chicago, Indiana, the son of Romanian immigrants who ran a small restaurant on the south side. He spent his childhood watching freighters move iron ore across Lake Michigan, dreaming of flying. When Pearl Harbor burned, he was 22 years old, working as a bank teller. He enlisted the next day. His father told him to come back with honor or don't come back at all. By June 1944, the United States has lost 43,000 men in the Pacific Theater. The Japanese have lost 200,000. Neither side can afford to lose control of these waters. Whoever wins today controls the next phase of the war. Vraciu's F-6F-3 Hellcat weighs 12,598 pounds fully loaded. It carries 6 Browning M2.50 caliber machine guns, each loaded with 400 rounds. The Pratt & Whitney R-2800 double wasp engine generates 2,000 horsepower. Maximum speed, 376 miles per hour at 17,300 feet. Range, 945 miles with drop tanks. The temperature at sea level reads 84 degrees Fahrenheit. At 24,000 feet where Vraciu patrols, it drops to minus 23 degrees. Visibility, unlimited. Cloud cover, scattered cumulus at 3,000 feet. Wind, 15 knots from the east. Task Force 58 operates 112 miles east of Guam. 15 aircraft carriers, 7 battleships, 21 cruisers, 69 destroyers. Vice Admiral Mark Mitcher commands from USS Lexington. His carriers hold 956 aircraft. He launched every available fighter 30 minutes ago after radar detected the incoming Japanese strike. But Vraciu sees something the radar cannot. He's been flying combat air patrol at the western edge of the formation when he spots the Japanese strike coming in low, using the cloud cover to mask their approach. Standard intercept tactics won't work. By the time the Combat Information Center vectors fighters to the correct altitude, the Japanese bombers will already be in their attack runs. Somebody needs to warn the fleet directly. Somebody needs to trigger an immediate launch of every remaining interceptor. Before you know how Vraciu's situation turned out, please hit that like button. It helps us share more forgotten stories like this one. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Let's continue. At 10:52 a.m., Vraciu radios his wingman. "I'm going down to check that contact." He pushes the stick forward, diving toward a cluster of aircraft 15,000 feet below. At 400 miles per hour, his Hellcat shudders as he passes through 20,000 feet. The Japanese formation materializes through the haze. 67 aircraft minimum. Probably more beyond visual range. They're flying at 8,000 feet in a loose gaggle, heading directly toward Task Force 58. Vraciu counts torpedo bombers, dive bombers, fighters flying escort. This isn't a probing attack. This is an annihilation strike. He banks hard, lining up on a Yokosuka D-4Y dive bomber. At 600 yards, he opens fire. The Browning machine guns hammer, 6 weapons firing in concert. The dive bomber's right wing separates from the fuselage. The aircraft tumbles into the sea. A second D-4Y crosses his nose. Vraciu fires a 2-second burst. The bomber explodes, pieces spiraling downward. He pulls up hard, hunting for his third target. An A6M0 cuts across his windscreen. Vraciu squeezes the trigger. The Zero's canopy shatters. The fighter rolls inverted and spins. At 10:57 a.m., a 7.7mm round from a Japanese rear gunner punches through Vraciu's engine cowling. The bullet severs an oil line. Black smoke pours from beneath his propeller spinner. His oil pressure gauge drops from 90 pounds to 40 in 3 seconds. The engine temperature climbs past 450 degrees. Vraciu pulls back on the stick, gaining altitude for a bailout. But he's 120 miles from the nearest friendly carrier. If he goes into the water here, he'll come down in Japanese-controlled seas. The chances of rescue hover near zero. The chances of capture, almost certain. And nobody else has seen what he's seen. Nobody else knows about the massive strike formation heading for the fleet. At 10:59 a.m., Vraciu makes his decision. He pushes the nose down, pointing his burning fighter toward USS Lexington, 87 miles to the east. The engine temperature reads 520 degrees. Smoke fills his cockpit. He opens the canopy to clear the fumes, but that only feeds more oxygen to the fire spreading beneath his cowling. The standard procedure is explicit: no burning aircraft on the flight deck. Ever. A fire on a carrier deck can spread to parked aircraft within seconds. Within minutes, it can reach the hangar deck where bombs and torpedoes sit in their racks. The USS Franklin will burn for 2 days in March 1945 after a single bomb hits her flight deck. 807 men will die. But Vraciu has information that might save 3,000 lives. Maybe more. He needs to land. He needs to deliver his report face-to-face, because radio communication in 1944 is unreliable during combat. Messages get garbled. Numbers get confused. And this is too important to risk a miscommunication. At 11:03 a.m., his oil pressure drops to 15 pounds. The engine begins to seize. His propeller windmills erratically. His airspeed bleeds off from 340 miles per hour to 280. Then 240. He's losing power, losing altitude, losing time. USS Lexington's Combat Information Center tracks his approach. The air officer watches through binoculars as Vraciu's smoking Hellcat limps toward the carrier. Protocol demands he wave off the burning aircraft. Send it to ditch in the sea beside the ship where destroyers can pick up the pilot. Don't risk the carrier. But something in Vraciu's approach pattern signals urgency. The air officer makes a split-second decision. He waves Vraciu aboard. At 11:08 a.m., Vraciu crosses Lexington's fantail at 92 miles per hour. His main wheels slam onto the wooden flight deck. His tailhook snags the number 3 arresting wire. The Hellcat jerks to a stop in 140 feet. Flames pour from the engine compartment. Deck crews sprint toward the aircraft with fire extinguishers. Vraciu pops his canopy latch, vaults over the side, hits the deck running. He doesn't head for the island superstructure where exhausted pilots normally report. He sprints forward to the flight deck officer's station. "There's a massive strike coming in from the west," Vraciu shouts over the wind noise. "I counted 67 aircraft minimum. Maybe 100. They're at 8,000 feet, using the clouds for cover." They'll be here in 20 minutes. The flight deck officer grabs a sound-powered phone. Bridge, this is flight deck. Vraciu reports inbound strike. 60-plus aircraft. 8,000 feet. 20 minutes. On Lexington's bridge, Vice Admiral Mitcher receives the report. He orders an immediate launch of every available fighter. The carriers that already sent their interceptors begin recovering them, refueling them, sending them back out. The carriers that held fighters in reserve launch them immediately. At 11:09 a.m., 37 Hellcats take off from 4 different carriers. They climb toward 8,000 feet, vectored by Combat Information Center directly toward the Japanese formation. They arrive with 7 minutes to spare. The engagement that follows will be called the Great Marianas Turkey Shoot. American pilots intercept the Japanese strike before it reaches the fleet. The sky fills with burning aircraft. Most of them are Japanese. The Japanese lose 143 aircraft in the first wave. They launch a second wave. 109 aircraft lost. A third wave. 97 aircraft destroyed. By the end of the day, 476 Japanese aircraft have been shot down. The Imperial Japanese Navy loses 3 carriers sunk, 2 carriers severely damaged. They lose so many trained pilots that Japan's carrier aviation never recovers. The Americans lose 29 aircraft. Most of the pilots are recovered. Vraciu doesn't watch the battle from Lexington's flight deck. At 11:14 a.m., 6 minutes after landing his burning fighter, he climbs into a spare F-6F-3 Hellcat. His flight suit still carries smoke stains from his burning aircraft. His oxygen mask smells like burning oil. He doesn't care. He takes off, joins the fighter screen, flies 4 more hours of combat air patrol. During that patrol, he shoots down 6 more Japanese aircraft, bringing his daily total to 9. It's the highest single-day score of any American pilot during the Marianas operation. His burning Hellcat sits on Lexington's flight deck for 2 more hours while deck crews extinguish every hot spot. The engine block is cracked. The oil reservoir is empty. The wiring harness is melted. The aircraft is pushed over the side at 2:30 p.m. to clear deck space for recovering aircraft. It sinks in 12,000 feet of water. But it saved Task Force 58. Without Vraciu's warning, the Japanese strike would have achieved surprise. They would have caught American fighters on the deck refueling. The carriers would have been vulnerable for critical minutes. How many ships would have burned is speculation. But the United States Pacific Fleet came very close to disaster that morning. Vraciu lands aboard Lexington at 3:47 p.m. He's been airborne or in combat for 5 hours. He climbs out of his cockpit, walks to the ready room, drinks a cup of coffee. A photographer snaps his picture. He looks 20 years older than he did that morning. He receives the Navy Cross for his actions during the Great Marianas Turkey Shoot. The citation mentions his 9 kills. It does not mention his decision to land a burning aircraft aboard a carrier, because that decision violated standing regulations. The Navy cannot officially commend someone for breaking the rules, even when breaking the rules saves lives. Vraciu flies combat missions for another 14 months. He finishes the war with 19 confirmed kills plus an additional 4 destroyed on the ground during a strafing run. He survives being shot down over the Philippines in December 1944, evading capture for 5 days before Filipino guerrillas return him to American lines. After the war, he stays in the Navy. He serves in Korea. He serves in Vietnam. He retires as a commander in 1964 after 23 years of service. He never seeks publicity. He never writes a memoir. When reporters ask him about June 19, 1944, He says he did what any pilot would have done. He's wrong. Most pilots would have followed procedure. Most pilots would have bailed out or ditched in the sea beside the carrier. Most pilots would have assumed someone else would spot the incoming strike and sound the alarm. Vraciu chose to break the rules because following the rules would have cost lives. He risked his carrier to save his fleet. He trusted his air officer to understand the urgency. He trusted his shipmates to put out the fire before it spread. He bet his career on a 90-second conversation with a flight deck officer. He won that bet. 3,000 sailors owed their lives to his judgment. Alexander Vraciu dies on January 29, 2015, at the age of 96. He is buried at Arlington National Cemetery. Vice Admiral Mitcher's after-action report for the Battle of the Philippine Sea, declassified in 1972, contains a handwritten note in the margin beside Vraciu's name. It reads, "Saved the task force." If you are watching till now, then do me a favor. Hit that like button. Every single person who likes the video counts to YouTube to show this story to more people. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications. We're discovering forgotten stories from dusty archives every single day. Stories about pilots who landed burning fighters on carrier decks to deliver warnings that saved thousands of lives. Real people, real heroism. Drop a comment right now and tell us where you're watching from. Are you watching from the United States, United Kingdom, Canada, Australia? Our community stretches across the entire world. You're not just a viewer. You're part of keeping these memories alive. Tell us your location. Tell us if someone in your family served. Just let us know you're here. Thank you for watching. And thank you for making sure Alexander Vraciu doesn't disappear into silence. These men deserve to be remembered, and you're helping make that happen.